All right, moving on to the next game tonight, Nate. We are looking at a 1-1 series tie here with Dallas headed to Utah. Obviously, the biggest storyline will continue to be a player who's not on the floor, Luka Doncic, who doesn't seem like he's coming back for game 3 either, but he might be back on the horizon. Now we know there's 5 games in this series. He might be back for the 5th one. We're not sure. But we'll look at what we do have and what we do know. What we do know is Utah is at home where they play better. I mean, the spread indicates that 7.5 here. A total that might be exploitable depending on how you feel about Dallas's ability to continue to come along with Utah, who we know scores a lot of points at home. So what are we looking at in this one here, Nate, with a pretty big spread, bigger than we usually like to bet. And like I said, a somewhat exploitable total, at least maybe on a team total side.
Right. The question, can Dallas come along, is really the question you have in a lot of playoff games is, were they lucky or were they good? Like Dallas, this doesn't seem sustainable that in game 2 they went 22 for 47, nearly 50% from 3. They only committed 3 turnovers. And of course, Jalen Brunson had a career night, 41 points with a 145 offensive rating. They were outshot at the free throw line, 13-30. They were out rebounded 50-31 and outscored in the paint as well by a hefty margin. So maybe they solved some things with this Jazz defense, which is generally disinterested on the road. But now as we shift back to Utah, I have a hard time imagining Utah loses this game. Unless, of course, Luka is a full go. Now, I mean, you said unlikely to go. I think you're right there. They're cautiously optimistic, they said, after he played some one-on-one in practice on Wednesday. But the usual timetable for a calf strain would give him about 3 or 4 more days before he's ready to go. I think he might come back in game 2 after they probably don't pull this one out. So talking about that Utah home road stuff, I mean, they went 8-2 at home after the All-Star break versus 5-10 on the road, scored 14 more points per game. Defensive rating 8 points better per 100 possessions, pace 4 possessions faster as well. Interesting home playoff numbers. They went under in 6 straight, but in their last 8, once the Clippers started cracking them, right, putting on film how you destroy that defense, over in all 8 of those games, 3-4-1 against the spread, scoring 119, but giving up 117 with a 123 defensive rating. I would definitely not bet on Dallas reaching this total again, getting up to 110, which is where they hit in game 2, but I would bet on Utah scoring 109 is their team total here. Minus 120 are the odds there. But if you don't love those odds, then just take the Jazz money line and the over in this game, because I think they score in the 115 or higher range, get us to about 210, whether Dallas is able to come along or not. We talked about it, before game 2, Maxi Kleber playing a lot more. And that's definitely good news for your over. It's because he's a sharpshooter, but he posted a 120 defensive rating while hitting those 8 threes. And Utah, with Donnie Mitchell, they're just playing that 2-man game with Donnie Mitchell and Bojan, and it's working. At home, it works a lot better. And Dallas slightly worse guarding the 3-point line, actually 5 percentage points worse guarding the 3 on the road. So with Utah able to spread them out, drive and kick, and they're going to get more than a 0 from Mike Conley, which is what they got in game 2. So I think Utah gets the offense rolling here. The pace a little scary slow in those first 2 games in Dallas, but they can dictate that pace a little bit more now that they're home. Which, again, in those last 8 playoff games, a nice 95 pace, decent for a playoff game, where they went over in 8 straight and averaged 236 combined there.
Yeah, and I'll start off my bit here with an apology to J. Kidd again. We have to make it enough times. We talked enough trash on him. We have to apologize enough times. maybe he watched the podcast because when we talked about exactly what he did in game 2 ahead of that game 2, we were mentioning, why would you have Dwight Powell in there for 30 minutes if he's not able to? It's not like he's guarding Rudy down low, and effectively Rudy's not getting the ball down low. Plus, you're not getting anything from Powell on offense. He didn't even attempt a 3-pointer in game 1. And so we both were just kind of like, well, this is a pretty easy, logical next step for you, J Kid. Just play Maxi Kleber. He's not going to play defense on Rudy Gobert either, because he won't have to. Not that he could if he wanted to, but he won't have to. And then you need someone who's going to pull the 3. I didn't know he was going to do it to the tune of what was he, 8 of 10 from 3 in the game. I didn't know that was going to, he missed 1, but all of his field goal attempts were from 3. He went 8 for 11. He was incredible. That's all they needed from him. Why would he take a shot in the post? I mean, everybody's running into the post against Utah and then not going up with it, which is really, what Utah's calling card has been. And it's working right now against a Dallas team that they don't have the 3-point shooting without Luka. They need him on there to not only be a shooter, but once you put the ball in the hands of Dinwiddie or Brunson, you just took one of your spot up shooters away that you would normally have. So it's just a matter of how many guys you have in there that you feel comfortable with. Once you put Kleber in there, now between he and Bullock, Brunson, Dinwiddie, at least you have the shooting, because once these guards, which Brunson and Dinwiddie are just getting by Clarkson and Mitchell, like they're not even standing there, to be honest. But once they get into that paint, they're terrified, as they should be, of 7'2" Rudy Gobert, but neither of those guys, especially Brunson, are really tall enough or strong enough to go into his body and get the ball off. He'll just still be able to block it. So, I think that's going to continue for them, and that means that they need to rely on their 3-point shooting, which is too do or die at this point. At this point, Utah's game plan is clear: run them off the line, and that's all they have to do. The problem is now Rudy's guy is going out for those dish drive and dish threes, which means he's either got to make a decision to guard that 3-pointer or stay in the lane to force the kick to the 3-pointer. So they're going to have to figure out a better rotation there, or Donovan Mitchell, Mike Conley, and Jordan Clarkson are going to have to play something that resembles defense at some point on the wing. Otherwise, they're just going to keep getting blown by, and you can keep expecting guys like Brunson to get 30-plus points. So in this one, though, I think Utah's offense will just overcome everything we're saying, and Dallas's defense has been incredible, but this is not the matchup for them. As we know, I do like Utah's team total a bit more than the game total, just because if Dallas is not hitting threes, I don't trust them to come along, and I don't know that they'll have the same level of 3-point efficiency in this one, as that has to be a point of emphasis for Utah coming into this game to keep hold of things. But look, death taxes, Donnie Mitchell in the playoffs, I continue to love that bet. There might be the opportunity for some unders between Brunson or Dinwiddie, but one of them, like Dinwiddie did in the last game, and Dinwiddie's the one who really, if he's at 21.5 points again or so with his player prop, which I can just pull up really quick. I don't know why to do that in the first place. I'm sorry. That's because I can't find his right now, as we're still waiting on some news from Dallas, obviously. So good on me. But either way, if we're looking at like 21.5 without Luka for Dinwiddie, that would be another place that I consider an under, as his game, like I said earlier, is too predicated on needing to get to the rim to be able to open up that 3-point shot for himself. And people are happy to let him drive by them when he can't get into Rudy at all, and has not scored well from the paint this series so far.
Yeah, that's the biggest concern for Dallas. You nailed it, is that Dinwiddie is afraid to go all the way to the rim, and he doesn't have the same mid-range game as Brunson, who, as great as he is not going to be able to sustain that success, I don't think, to that same degree. I mean, his offensive rating jumped 50 points per 100 possessions from game 1 to 2, pretty much. I mean, he just had the game of his life. But I mean, I think we have to hold off on the spread here for sure. If you bet Utah -7 and Luka does play, you're kind of screwed. You're definitely in a bad position at that point. Yeah. I would definitely think you have to tease it if you're going to bet it early. But conversely, if you get Utah -3 and Luka does not play, you are definitely sitting pretty there. I would stick with that money line over parlay. I'd also look at, I like Rudy Gobert's props, even though he is not a huge offensive force. With Kleber out there playing so much, I think he gets his points. I mean, he's averaging 16 and 15 in his last 6 meetings with the Mavs. Averaged 19 and 16 basically in his last 7 regular season home games, and has a double-double in 19 of his 20 career playoff games at home. So double-double in a win is -118. That seems like a pretty much taking the money line without the over there to just say, Rudy's going to control the paint. He's probably going to have like 15 boards. His prop is at that. I don't really want to bet that, but a lot of boards, a lot of blocks, and a lot of intimidation. Yeah, convincing Dinwiddie and Brunson not to go all the way to the rim, like you're saying, which then bogs up that Mavericks offense. And you do have a lot of concern about it without Luka being able to generate quality shots for them.
Right.
Then I definitely think this hinges on his status. So it's not a huge limb there, but obviously you want to know what that situation is before you bet that spread.
Yeah, no, 100%. And the only thing that scares me about a Rudy double-double is he going to get 10 points, as most of his points just come off second chance points. And that's going to be – but they have to make Kleber pay. I mean, they have to make the Mavs pay for playing Kleber, right? If he's going to be out there.
And Utah had 11 offensive rebounds with that advantage, along with all those paint points in game 2. So, he could get those points on second chance,
That's fair, yeah. The points are more likely to come for him when Kleber's on the floor more, which it still took a few, until basically the second and third quarter, really the third quarter for J-Kidd to realize he needed to Kleber out there. So, I fully agree with Rudy. I'm not even really scared of the 15 boards. It's not worth betting. But I think when you throw the double-double and a win out there, as we say, for Utah to pull this off, that's a player performance double I can definitely get behind.